Clarke from Thrive Physical Therapy and Wellness, and this is Strive to Thrive, your weekly podcast designed to help improve your health, increase your success level, and ultimately help you thrive in life. And it's the name of the company.
So my name is Cody. I'm a Thrive Physical Therapist as well. And today we're going to be discussing a little bit about our local network, right? And I think local network means to me basically the interconnections between you and the people around you and how they play on, or basically help you either succeed or in some instances fail at what you're trying to accomplish.
So network for success.
Yeah.
That's what we try to talk around.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess for my first thing I'd like to say underwriting this is local network to me has been something that I never really considered that highly before, right? And I grew up in a very small town in rural Ohio. I had the same group of friends since I was in high school, through grade school, up through college. I commuted for school. I didn't really have a big exposure to a larger group of people. So my network was always very small and it was always defined. I never really had a new branching. And so for me, local network was one of those things that was just like, it's just who you interact with on a daily basis. The thing that changed for me is when I went off to college and I got more exposure and my network became instantaneously much larger. Right? And now I had choices. And I think that's what helps define what your network consists of. It's the choices that you have to make around the people and the things in your life that now influence how you perceive your world and then how you interact in it. For me, I had two friends that were great and I love them to death. But we kind of stayed consistent, right, within that network. So I didn't change a whole lot. And for the better, I'm very happy with my upbringing and everything as well. But once you get outside and all of a sudden I have these different either friend groups or relationships, different relationships with your family, the things that you change over time, you have to figure out how to steer yourself amongst all that and find a place where you're very happy with it. So kind of in my experience with my networking situation, which I'm glad, in college I learned a little bit about this and I got a chance to think hard about, how do I develop my network well. But so I was going to ask you, where has your network been changing or how did it start and how is it different today?
Yeah. Well, so obviously, first off, this is a sort of a big, broad topic and you kind of take it in multiple directions, but I would say there's a few layers I would maybe talk about. First layer of sort of your network success is what professional people are in your life on some level, like who's your doctor, who's your physical therapist, do you have competent sort of professionals that help you with different areas, and that's one really important piece. The other piece would be, who is your sort of immediate professional peer group, right? Because you obviously you want to be in a group of people that are if you have a choice, you want to hang around people that want to be good at whatever it is you're doing professionally. Right? If you want to get somewhere, you hang around with people that push you and encourage you, then that's going to take you where you want to go in your profession. You don't want to be in a level where people are satisfied with being at a certain level. You want to be around people that are here. The other would be somebody who is your friend group. Like, do you have someone actually that is somebody who's kind of your accountability partner? Like I happen to have a friend of mine that's in this one. I have two levels, so just to branch off on it for a second. So one, with physical therapy, I've got a group of a few guys that have physical therapy practices that are similar to mine, and we've got to be good friends, and they feel similarly. So I think that's the other thing that I probably should say before I get too far along is you have to have somebody in your professional peer group, and then also in your friends, that you're someone on the same wavelength in terms of where you want to aspire to go, and that somewhat click in regards to personality. You can talk to each other well. You have honesty. There's certain value characteristics that you want to share. But for my example, I have 4 buddies of mine that are in different areas. One's in Montana, one's out in Santa Rosa, California, the other's in Bethesda, Maryland. Here, and I had tried to set up. They're all PTs and they have physical therapy practices that are kind of similar to mine, and they all care a lot about the quality of physical therapy and are very motivated to be really, really good top-level physical therapists. They also care about their business and how it's done, and they want it to be something special. Well, that's our common bond. I tried to create that locally with other practices, and nobody wanted to do it. And so I had to create my own. So fortunately, they wanted to be part of it. But I kind of consider them to be my CEO group. So what's cool is we talk every 8 weeks or so. And what is nice about it, and I would say this is part of the Success Network part, is they all come up with great ideas when we talk about different things, but they also they share certain values and a desire to have things be at a certain quality in a certain way, right? That's kind of the basic construct. And they're all motivated by their jobs. They have businesses that they want to see do well, but they're motivated to have it be, we're in practice. But what I like about them is they challenge my thinking. They're objective. They listen well, and we all push each other. It's like, we want to do well because you want to do well in the group, and it's like you rise to the level of the people that you're around, and I think that's a massively important thing. It's also getting those guys and then your friends somewhere. Somebody needs to be in your friend network, your whatever group it would be, that can be honest with you and give you some feedback on your how you're thinking, your thought process around something, and any strategy you want to try, or is willing to tell you if something's not a great idea, or maybe it's just going to challenge you, but in a positive way, to try to either excel or to kind of put the brakes on you if it's something that needs to be. So I think the chemistry of that network is extremely important.
Yeah.
Whatever level.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then something that, for a professional network, I'm very blessed to be here at Thrive PT. I think this has helped me grow as a physical therapist significantly and give me a big impact. And very happy with my PT family, and all that stuff. So for me, that's been huge. But I also realized, and I think this is the thing that changed for me most, going from a small, very defined network to something that's much more expansive. For those who don't know, I moved from Ohio to Richmond about 2 years ago. From the years of 2016 to 2020, now this year, I've made a lot of changes. I've moved around quite a bit and been in different areas. And so I've had to redefine my network often. But the thing that I kind of found over time is that you do need different people to fill different roles in your lives. And I've found that when I restart, right, so I moved to a different area and my network gets small again, I found I have trouble because I rely on someone to be more than they need to be in that role. Right? So let's say for my relationship with Ashley, I sometimes want her to fulfill all the aspects of my growth, in one person, and that's a lot of demand. And I feel like if you put someone under the stress of being able to meet all of those needs, then it gets difficult, right, for each other. So I think when you're defining your network, and it's like you want your family to be, emotional support, moral support, be there for you when you need them, right? But they don't need to necessarily push you professionally, as hard, because you'll feel that
maybe silos, but like different. I think you need multiple, maybe more than one, like what's your success network? Well, multiple components.
Exactly.
So that's perfect.
Yeah, no, I think it's hard to demand too much from someone. So if you feel like there's a lot of stress, or there's you're putting extra tension on someone, it could be that your demand for that person could be used somewhere else, and that may be where you need to define your network in another field. So like my PT network's here at work.
Sure.
My family network, is emotional support, moral support, and then if I'm looking at like a personal growth kind of thing, I want to rely on my family for that, and things like that. But I also know that from an extraneous source, I want friends and coworkers and whoever who are going to push me to exercise and eat well and be socially active and all those other things that get you involved in things that you really enjoy. I think the equal part to ask you about is you have to be able to filter out silos that may be negative for you, which is I've always had trouble with. Right? I struggle with that, and I think that's hard for most people. Is having enough self-respect to yourself to say, and having you have to be able to step up to someone and say, no, this is no longer good for me. I need to step away from this I need to cut this network off and then find something else. And I think that's kind of tough, but it can happen in your life. So if you had any, or kind of developing your network and kind of shying away from certain areas and things like that.
Yeah, so there's multiple levels on that conversation too. So here's what I will say, that the very interesting research study is the single most determining factor as to how successful someone will be over their lifespan and in their life is their peer group. And then they found that kind of a way I've heard it described is that you will be as successful as your 5 most close direct sort of peers and whatever level that would be.
Yeah.
So you want to be careful about how you do that. That's just all the things that we were kind of just alluding to. And any sort of negative outside influence, whether that's just thought process or whether that's maybe a level of like a viewpoint that maybe you don't want to adopt, you have to be very, very careful about allowing things to influence you emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, if it doesn't resonate for you, and it doesn't ultimately move you where it is you want to go. And so sometimes, I mean, obviously sometimes with family or with certain situations, we may not always have control over, I mean, you may not always be like, okay, totally block access, but you could maybe restrict some access. Like you don't go on vacation, like you've got friends, right? You don't go on vacation for a long period of time with
absolutely.
Some you might not.
Yeah, well, I think that makes sense. I think it's, it's defining roles and, and having expectations for what people can fulfill, and it's like if, for instance, if you have really close relationships with people and the longer you've had that relationship, I would say the more difficult that is to stop if you feel like you're going in different paths, whether that be, a romantic relationship or friend relationship or work relationship or whatever it may be, right? You may find out that your directions are diverging. You kind of have two options, I feel like, from a success standpoint. You either expect different results, right, and then your expectation for that network is now less, or you kind of split off, right? That's where you make that hard decision. But I think that's the expectation: is I either find people who encourage me to do something else and rely on them for that kind of, and I want to help them. Obviously, another thing we talk about with networking is you have to be a beneficiary and a provider. Just as much, you have to give to your social network of group just as much as you would hope to receive from it. If you don't put any input in or any quality in, you can't expect quality back. And so I think the social networking kind of thing is, especially with your family and your friend group, also know that the reception of that may be changed if you don't put equal parts in. So we have to kind of think about that when you say.
Yeah, and when it's somebody that you obviously like, family member, somebody you know. Have to be around at some level, then training them in regards to how to, if they want to express a certain opinion to you or tell you what you should do, there's ways to kind of be like, I really appreciate your input. I'm all set on that particular thing. You just direct the conversations to things that you can interact in a positive way. So sometimes it's just training, right? If you can't block it off, but you set your expectation, know what that person, what they sort of bring to the table and the kind of conversations you can kind of have and relate to them on a level that you can still have a relationship, but be comfortable with it, and then also put the guard up and be like, I'm not absorbing what this person feels politically, emotionally, value-wise, whatever.
I mean, I'm blessed with a very supportive family group, and I'm very welcome, I'm very happy, and I'm very lucky to be in the situation I am and have the support group that I do. I'm very happy with that. But I also know that it's important to have just an honest conversation about it. And that's the best thing you can do. I think a lot of times, obviously for 27-year-old PT, this may not have the scope that I wish it did, right? My life experience is limited, so take that with a grain of salt. But from my personal experience, right, being said, I found that people who avoid the conversation or avoid the topic, they don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, you don't want to deal with it, you tend to cause more harm otherwise, right? Because if you don't address it, then there's mixed feelings. They're like, why are you pushing me out? Why are you holding back? Why are you doing these things, right? And sometimes it's just internally, I need this role filled, or I want to fill this role for you, or whatever it may be. And you have to just have that conversation and be honest and be blunt. We've talked a little bit about how softening your words can sometimes have a worse impact than being relatively rigid with your conversation and being upfront. And that's something that I think, especially when you're trying to find out what your network is and have success toward it, getting these pieces all moving means that you have to, one, internally know what's going on around you, and then two, be able to express that to the people who matter in your life and who help you with it.
Yeah, and being able to assess that well.
Yeah.
Right. Hopefully we get better at kind of.
It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, well, and especially when you, just like when you said it, when somebody you've known for a really, really long time, that's not always easy, and setting up what you want from something. And then I think ultimately the other layer of setting up your success network is ultimately your success is driven from you.
Oh my gosh.
And so part of setting up your success network is, what do you need to do to show up as your best person? Whether that's reading, finding resources from a reading standpoint, finding websites that give you information that you need, that give you thought process, and then having a structure around, how to actually accomplish what you want. I think it needs to be deliberate. I think it needs to be ultimately it all does start with you and then works its way out, right? And so being around the right people, being around the right friends that kind of resonate for you. But the other piece is figuring out, what is it? What resources do you consume? Do your eyes look at, right? So it's like where your focus goes is where your energy is going to flow. If you look at shock stuff on TV, well, that makes us anxious and stressed. Well, if we look at things that are positive, can do, direction focused, career development, whatever, well, that's where we're going to gravitate towards, and that's where it's going to take us. So you have to kind of be willing to look at that as well, and be strategic about, smart about how you figure that out, because ultimately you want those things to kind of enrich your life and enrich it in a way that's going to give you the skills, give you the tools, give you the emotional thought, the thought process, the structure to achieve what you want for your life. And you want your life to be what you want it to be, and happy and healthy and bring you in the right place. I mean, if you want to be physically fit and around a long time, well, you probably shouldn't be hanging out with a lot of people that
drink Mountain
eat hamburgers and drink a lot and don't like to exercise. Whereas if you want to be fit and happy and all those sorts of things, well, hanging out with people that like to do active things, and that's part of their curriculum, that's part of who they are, and that's what they bring to the table, because that belief and thought process is what's going to makes all the difference. It makes it happen or it doesn't, and it's your ability to see it and believe it is whether and recognize it, and then figure out the strategic strategy around how to get where you want to go. Is what will make it happen or it won't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it takes. The last thing I want this podcast to do is to tell people that your network is what defines success, and rely on others for your and then blame others for your failures. Like that's
not at all. Not at all.
We know that it's pivotal in achieving a higher level of success that you do have people around you who are willing to help push you, and get people around you who resonate with you and give you encouragement and improve your motivation and get you on to the next step. And then just branching those networks out is what really gives you a full engrossment of how to really accomplish what you want. Because I think most people in life, especially if they're driving to succeed in something, tend to overwhelm themselves a bit. It's a lot easier to overwhelm yourself, I feel like, than underwhelm yourself. Because usually you get caught up into the chores. No one has enough time. No one has enough ambition to achieve everything. And so you need people who can really help you filter that out, push you into channels that feel good, right? Get you in the right spot. But I'm big said, this is a little bit of a shout out. I don't mean to be too sappy, but I've had family who's done nothing but push me and drive me in the right directions. And to my mom and my dad, if you guys are listening, I really appreciate everything you've done for both of me. You guys are some of the strongest people I've ever interacted with, and had the luxury of growing up with you guys. So I appreciate that. And those networks that you've built, that has to be strong, and then you have to be really willing to nurture those networks. You have to be willing to take time out of your, maybe important to you, to keep those running, because I will say that it can be easy to lose networks that deem you less, less important.
Bring them what you're bringing to the table.
If you ignore it. And I think what you were saying about reading and being involved and setting your own success makes you a more valuable asset. Honestly, and that maybe it sounds cold, but I think that's reality. It's that you have to be willing to be a value to others in order to gain value.
And the thing I would say of that along this theme is setting up your success network ultimately starts with you. And it's your foundations and your habits and your structure, and the tapping into the resource you need to be to make the most out of yourself and show up in a certain way so that you bring things to the group, just like Cody was describing. And then figuring out, we adopt the habits and the belief of people around a lot. And so, be make sure that you're aware of this. I mean, I think we all are sort of aware of this, and set yourself up for success with bringing something to the group, and having friends that have expectations of you, and you push each other and have it be a healthy thing. So
it's awesome. Well, hey guys, that's probably going to be the end of our talk about that for now. If you guys have any comments leading up to either ways that you define your social network, any literature that you may use to help you kind of figure out this process, would be awesome to leave down in the comments below. We were very passionate about this, and I think we'd like to maybe continue this talk at another time. But for now, that was your Strive to Thrive podcast. Thank you guys for listening. We'll bring you some more content coming up in the next 2 weeks. All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening, guys. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.